It's time for America Outdoors Radio. The fast-paced hour of outdoors radio ahead is not only awesome, but unlike those other shows, you can actually sleep in for this one. Better still, we've got a special Pacific Northwest edition for you. You won't find this version of America Outdoors Radio anywhere else, and you'll only hear it here on KRKO AM 1380.
Happy New Year! 2017 was a mixed bag for hunters and anglers, and I suspect 2018 will be interesting as well in terms of opportunity, especially as it pertains to salmon and steelhead here in the Pacific Northwest. One saltwater fishing opportunity that is pretty much a sure thing, though, is the Area 5 salmon fishery out of Seiku. Tom Burlingame, the owner of XL Fishing Charters, will be joining us at the bottom of the hour to tell you more about this fishery, where you actually get to keep 2 salmon a day as opposed to the 1 fish a day you're restricted to in pretty much the rest of the sound. You'll want to stick around for the end of the show too, because Nick Peterson is back with us from the north coast of Oregon. Last week, he told you about fishing for winter steelhead on the Trask River near Tillamook. This week, he'll tell you about the unique little motel he owns, the Surf Inn at Netarts. That's the perfect place to use as a base camp in the Tillamook region, whether you are fishing, crabbing, or clamming this winter and spring. And now, it's time again to tell you what's hot and what's not, right here in the Pacific Northwest, and brought to you by your local Sportsman's Warehouse store located on Everett Mall Parkway in Everett. As you might imagine, many anglers are focused on fishing Marine Area 7 around the San Juan Islands after its long-awaited January 1st opening, and because that's where the Resurrection Salmon Derby is taking place this weekend, with an additional 100 boats plying the waters looking for the biggest hatchery Chinook to take back to the weigh-in. If the idea of fighting the relative crowds in Marine Area 7 doesn't appeal to you, Marine Area 10 remains open and will probably see very little pressure this weekend. As far as that goes, Marine Area 10 hasn't seen much pressure in the last couple of weeks. Whether that's because of low catch rates, the weather, or the holidays is anyone's guess, but I think it's fair to say it's probably a combination of all three. Well, if the weather is foul, make duck soup, or maybe snow goose soup. Both bird species are down in very good numbers from Whatcom County all the way into Oregon's Willamette Valley, and if you can get out there on one of those nasty days when it's dumping rain and the wind is blowing, you'll probably find yourself in a good position to take home a limit of birds. If you don't know where to go, just go to Skagit, Whatcom, or the Snoqualmie wildlife areas. It's all public land. Now, these are very, very busy places during the weekend, but if you can sneak out there during a weekday, you may have a good portion of any particular hunting unit to yourself, or at least not be too crowded by neighboring shotgunners. Finally, if you're into ice fishing and you're up for a road trip, head to Curlew Lake in northeast Washington's Ferry County. One poster at northwestfishingreports.com showed off 50 perch between 9 and 11 inches and 3 nice trout that they took home after a December 30th expedition there. The ice is 5 inches thick, and if things go like last year, it will thicken all the way up to 18 inches before it's all said and done. Oh, I guess there is one more thing. Sportsman shows. We are going to be exhibiting again at the Washington Sportsman Show at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, and I hope you'll stop by and see us because we'll be giving away a $100 gift certificate from Max Lure Company at the end of the show. And no, you don't have to be present to win. Simply show up at our booth, sign up for the free Mac Attack newsletter on the sign-up sheet we'll have there, and you're entered. The show dates are Wednesday, January 24th through Sunday, the 28th, and I'm looking forward to seeing you there.
And with that, let's head to this week's national edition of America Outdoors Radio.
See Gary Borger, Brian O'Keefe, Skip Morris, and dozens of others at the annual Linwood Fly Fishing Show, February 17th and 18th in the convenient Linwood Convention Center. If you like fly fishing, you'll love the Fly Fishing Show.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
We've got a special Best Of edition for you this week, covering some of the best interviews we recorded over the last year. We'll be covering ice fishing in Alaska with George Krumm, advice on making the most out of your trail camera with Mark Kayser out of Wyoming, and learn about fishing California surf off the beach and in a kayak with Jason Grupp of Breakwater Tours. In addition to this, we'll introduce you to the founder of Fish Fighter Products out of Mountain Home, Idaho, a company that is making some really innovative boat accessories from anchors to a whole lot more. It's going to be a fast-paced and fun-filled hour with all sorts of great outdoors content headed your way. So, settle into your seat, buckle in, and let's get going.
Hey guys, stop. Grab your bait and listen. Ice is on the lake, so we're going fishing. With me is my best friend Mike. We're hitting Lake Boygan for the trophy fight. Will I catch a perch? Hey, I guess so. I got some new jigs and a brand new Zemco. I loaded up the truck with all my new gear. Mike got the bait, I bought the beer. Sorrel, I got a nice pair of boots to go with my hat and my blazer and suit. But that ain't enough, so I threw in 3 pair of heavy-duty flannel thermal underwear. Drilling, the ice is half a foot thick. My gas-powered ice auger ought to do the trick.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio, and this segment of the show is brought to you by Fish Fighter Products. They are based in Mountain Home, Idaho. They make all sorts of innovative products for your boat to help you have a more successful fishing outing. Find out more at fishfighterproducts.com. Next up, we're going to talk to George Krumm. He's with Fish Alaska Magazine, and it's already time to think about ice fishing in Alaska. George, welcome to the show.
Hey, John. Thanks a lot.
So, George, you know, especially for our listeners in Anchorage and some of them way up on the North Slope, when does ice up start occurring in Alaska? When are those lakes safe to start fishing?
Well, you know, John, I spent most of my time in the Anchorage area and Wasilla area, and usually in late October, the lakes are beginning to freeze over pretty good, and I'm usually walking on the lakes in early November. Of course, a fair amount of caution is in order if you're going to hit the ice in early November, but it can be done.
All right, and you just wrote an article for Fish Alaska Magazine about using spoons to jig up fish out of these lakes that are iced over. Tell our listeners a little bit more about this technique and how you're doing it.
Sure. I wrote the article. It's called Spoon Feed 'em. It's in the October/November issue of Fish Alaska Magazine, and basically it's a how-to use spoons specifically to tempt Arctic char, lake trout, and burbot. And I think that if the readers take a quick look at that, they'll probably be more successful if they like to use spoons.
You know, burbot is one of those mystery fish for most anglers. They're referred to as eel pout in some part of the country. They're also referred to as freshwaterling. I've never tasted one before. I've never caught one. How do they fight? How do they taste?
Well, they fight great if you catch them on appropriate gear. A lot of people think that burbot are a scavenger, and that's true to a certain extent. But the burbot in the lakes that I fish are more on the lines of predators. They eat juvenile salmon, whitefish, grayling, basically other fish. They fight great, and they'll readily whack a spoon or a leadhead jig in a grub or a jerkbait sort of combo. They're pretty voracious predator. As far as the eating quality, I've eaten a number of them, and a lot of people jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, yeah, they're great, taste just like lobster. My experience is if you eat them fresh before they've ever been frozen, they're good in a variety of different ways. I wouldn't rate them as better than halibut or better than salmon, but they're okay.
There you go. You can always find the truth here on America Outdoors Radio. So let's talk about Arctic char. That's another fish that's a big mystery for those of us in the lower 48. How do they fight?
Oh, Arctic char are one of my favorite fish to catch through the ice. Some species of trout, such as rainbow trout, bite pretty good early in the ice fishing season, but as the season goes on and oxygen levels drop a little bit and water gets cold, rainbow trout get a little bit lethargic. But Arctic char are not like that. They stay active all winter long. They're a fast-moving fish. They eat other fish. They, too, are a top-of-the-line predator in the lakes in which they live, and they fight really good.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We're talking to George Krumm with Fish Alaska Magazine about, believe it or not, ice fishing, because it's coming up sooner than you think. George, let's go ahead and tell folks about a couple places within driving distance of Anchorage that might be worth an ice fishing expedition this fall and this winter.
Sure, and these are lakes that you can drive right up to. The first one I'll talk about is Big Lake, just north of Wasilla. It's about an hour from Anchorage, maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Once the ice is fully formed on the lake, they actually plow a road across the lake, and that road branches off into several different parts of the lake. The lake is best known for big Arctic char and burbot. It also has a population of rainbow trout.
George, just how big do the fish get in Big Lake?
Well, I've caught burbot up to about 36 inches or so, and Arctic char up to 29.5 inches, though I've heard of Arctic char larger than that being caught.
Wow. So a 29.5 incher is what, 12, 15 pounds?
Probably more like 10 or 12.
We're fishermen. It's definitely 12 to 15, George. Definitely 12 to 15. All right. How about another lake that's within driving distance of Anchorage?
Sure. I like to catch big fish when I fish through the ice. If I'm going to put up with the cold, big fish are necessary for me to be willing to do that. And one of the places I like to go to catch really big fish is the Lake Louise area, about 2 hours and 40 minutes north of Anchorage. Lake Louise has grayling, whitefish, burbot, and lake trout, and I've got lake trout over 40 inches long in that lake.
You know, when it comes to grayling, I always think of those as taking flies and taking spinners in the summer months. I didn't know you could catch grayling through the ice.
Well, I've never fished for grayling through the ice. But what I know about them is the lake trout like to eat them.
All right, so they're more of a forage base, and you're targeting the lake trout. And I guess when it comes to Lake Louise, same question as Big Lake, how big do these lakers get?
Well, like I mentioned, the biggest I've caught is about 42 inches. I don't know how big they get. I haven't landed any bigger than that yet, but that's a pretty sizable fish.
That's a real sizable fish. And in Lake Louise, as I recall, there's a number of resorts there that cater to anglers and snowmobilers, too, during the winter months, isn't there?
Yes, there are. You can stay at Lake Louise Lodge. John is the owner, John and Yvette. They're friends of mine. You can rent snowmobiles there sometimes. It's a great place to start. And in the Lake Louise area, there are actually several different lakes that you can reach by snowmobile to fish for lake trout and burbot. Another lodge is the Point Lodge, Wolverine Lodge. I'm not sure if those are both still operating, but they were not too long ago.
All right, last but not least, I'm sure that Fish Alaska Magazine covers not just your article when it comes to ice fishing, but probably covers this topic on a fairly regular basis. Where can folks find out about how to get a subscription, and where can they find it on newsstands?
All they need to do is go to fishalaskamagazine.com, and they can subscribe to the website. It's in most of the major newsstands in Alaska and a number of them outside of Alaska.
And one more question I'm going to throw at you here, George. When it comes to ice fishing in Alaska, if you go to the Midwest, if you go to Minnesota, you've got veritable villages out there with wooden shanties. Is it the same way in Alaska, or is it done a little bit differently? Are people a little bit more, should I say nomadic?
I would say that people are more nomadic. There are certain places where you'll see some semi-permanent ice houses put up. On Big Lake, there seems to be a few every year, and they're typically right outside somebody's cabin door. In Larson Bay up in Lake Louise, there seems to be a growing group of people who are putting shacks out there in the wintertime. But for the most part, many of the places I'm fishing, there's nobody anywhere near me. And I tend to try to stay mobile because the more holes I can drill in a day, the more water I fish, generally the more fish I catch.
Folks, as you can hear, ice fishing does not have to be a miserable experience. It can be a really fun experience and a very productive experience, too. If you want to find out how to catch some of those fish through the ice on spoons, check out the October edition of Fish Alaska Magazine. And once you do that, you'll probably get hooked and want to subscribe as well. The website, again, is fishalaskamagazine.com. That's fishalaskamagazine.com. George, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
Anytime, John. Thank you.
My gas-powered ice auger ought to do the trick. If I want to eat crab, I gotta catch dinner. Drop my line in the hole with the minnow and the spinner.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
Two huge events for hunters and anglers are coming to the Northwest. The first is the Washington Sportsman Show, January 24th to the 28th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup. As big as this show is, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show at Portland's Expo Center is even bigger, with even more outfitters, retailers, boat dealers, and free seminars galore. You won't want to miss these shows, January 24th to the 28th in Puyallup and February 7th to the 11th in Portland.
Marine Area 5 near Seiku is open for a special Chinook salmon fishery, and Excel Fishing Charters is ready to take you out for a great day on the water. One of the great things about this fishery is the fact that you get to take home not one, but 2 blackmouth a day, and Captain Tom Burlingame has the knowledge and experience to help you get that done. Need a place to stay? Excel Fishing Charters can help you with that too, because they also operate the inn at Nia Bay. Find out more about fishing with Excel Fishing Charters at excelfishingcharters.com. That's EXCELfishingcharters.com. Book your trip now.
A seafood bounty is waiting for you on Northwest Oregon's Tillamook coast. Catch a limit of big salmon, haul up a pot of delicious crab, and dig up a bunch of clams for some hot chowder. Plan your visit today at tillamookcoast.com.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after, whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Two huge events for hunters and anglers are coming to the Northwest. The first is the Washington Sportsman Show, January 24th to the 28th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup. As big as this show is, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show at Portland's Expo Center is even bigger, with even more outfitters, retailers, boat dealers, and free seminars galore. You won't want to miss these shows, January 24th to the 28th in Puyallup and February 7th to the 11th in Portland.
Looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer an affordable platform to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting host John Cruz through his website at AmericanOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. But hurry, if you wait too long, this big opportunity might just get away. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
It's time for the annual Linwood Fly Fishing Show, February 17th and 18th at the convenient Linwood Convention Center. See everything new for 2018, plus fly fishing destinations from around the world.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We are broadcasting from Fish Camp in the Columbia River Gorge, bordering Washington and Oregon. And one of the things that happens at Fish Camp, there's a whole bunch of members of the media here, but there's also people in the fishing industry, to include manufacturers. One such manufacturer is Chuck Ceccarelli. He is the president and the founder of Fish Fighter Products, located in Mountain Home, Idaho. Chuck, welcome to the show.
John, thanks for having me.
So, Chuck, the best way I think I can describe you to our listeners is some sort of mad scientist from a very unlikely place. You know, when people think of places where fishing products are manufactured, Mountain Home doesn't necessarily come to mind, does it?
Yeah, you know, people have said we're Mountain Home's best-kept secret.
I would say that's true, but you have come out with all sorts of really innovative products. You did a demo yesterday. You've been here for a few days now. The guides that are here at Fish Camp, they are going gaga over what you have. And I wanted to talk about just two of the many things that you demoed here at camp. And those are some of the anchors that you manufacture. And we'll start off with anchors that are going to be very useful for heavy waters in the Columbia River, in the Snake River, or even in the Salmon River of Idaho or anywhere else where you're fighting lots and lots of current. And that's your breakaway anchors. Tell our listeners more about them.
Yeah, John, you use the word innovative, and to us, our products just are common sense. And they were all born out of, maybe frustration with the current products that were out there. When we're anchor fishing for spring Chinook or fall Chinook on the Columbia River, and you have a hog line, a row of boats, and you come in there and you're going to anchor and drift down in between these boats, it can be quite embarrassing if your anchor doesn't hold. But not only that, we're trying to build the best products to help you be the best fisherman you can. And I felt several times that I had placed my anchor and it slid a little bit, and I was just a little bit out of that fish zone. I wasn't right where I wanted to be. So we set out to design the ultimate anchor.
Well, before you get into that, let's talk about fallacies when it comes to anchors. And, you've used a great analogy. It's not all about weight, and I'll let you expound on that. If it was all about weight, what would everyone use for an anchor?
Yeah, if it was all about weight, you'd just haul a small block Chevy out there and tie it onto your rope and shove it off the bow of the boat, But, not only do you got to put this anchor out, you got to retrieve this thing.
Right.
So it's not just about weight, because many times on a gravel bar, you just can't get enough weight to actually hold you. It's just going to slide on that sand and hard-packed gravel. So we really looked to dredges and other types of anchoring out there. We looked at tent spikes. We looked at ice hammers. We looked at ways to penetrate the bottom of the water column, or to penetrate the gravel. So we've designed what we call our Grouser Fluke system. It has serrated edges on it. If you were to look at just different tools and things in our world, and you look at the serrations, because we're really trying to penetrate, the soils under the water. Not only are we trying to do that, sometimes when we get into areas where it's just rock, we want to be able to hook onto a rock. So we cut a big chevron-shaped hole in our Grouser Fluke, and it'll hook onto a rock ledge. We'll also have serrations in the side that, as the anchor rotates, it locks around a rock. And as I talked to you earlier, when we say we used a computer to design this, we didn't just type it on a Word document and say, "Hey, John, we designed this on a computer." We have full-time mechanical engineer on staff. We use 3D solid modeling, and we used a product called FEA, which is finite element analysis, and we really worked on the length times the width to get the optimum angle, and we've just really poured the last 5 to 7 years of our hearts and souls into developing this anchor. The guides love it, because when they're fishing, like when they transition from where we are today, fishing here below the Deschutes, where you have a little bit different speed of current, and then you go to Bonneville. Well, you got to have two complete different anchors.
Right.
We solved that because we came out with our bolt-on anchor spades, and these things, I'm going to sit right here, and I'm going to tell you, I believe we have the best built anchor on planet Earth for fishing in the rivers, and not just anchoring. Precision anchoring, putting your boat precisely where you want it, and being able to hold precisely where you want to be, and putting your boat precisely where the fish are. And it's all about precision and having that product that's going to do it day in and day out, time in and time out. And I think that's why you'll see more and more guides are running our product. Cody Herman, who's really big down at Buoy 10, he's sold on our products. He said the first time he anchored at Bonneville, that was it for him. I mean, he knows our anchor is the best out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, after your appearance at Fish Camp, you have sold a whole bunch of other guides on the breakaway anchor as well. So that is the perfect anchor for motorized boats. But let's talk about other boats and other anchors, because you live in southern Idaho, and there's a very well-known river called the Snake River there, and there's a lot of folks that are using drift boats, especially in that section between Idaho Falls and the border with Wyoming. And if you go a little bit north into the great state of Montana, there's lots of folks that are using drift boats, whether it be on the Madison or whether it be on the Yellowstone or one of the other great rivers there. And you've developed an eco-friendly drift boat weight, haven't you?
Yeah, the term eco-friendly and green, I think, sometimes gets overused. When we first set out to design this, we set out to solve a problem. And that is, when you start out in the spring and the water's running high, typically a really great fisherman is going to have a heavier anchor or the spring, and then as the summer moves along, he might drop down some weight sizes to get that boat drifting at the perfect current speed. So what we did is we designed what we call our variable weight system. So we offer a drift boat anchor that has stacked steel plates on it, and as the plates stack on, they go smaller and smaller and smaller into a pyramid shape.
So it looks, in a sense, it looks just like a standard drift boat anchor in terms of the pyramid shape, but these stacked weights, I understand they're removable so you can change the weight.
Yeah, it's very simple. You just remove a bolt on the bottom of the anchor, and you can vary it. And we offer them in 3 sizes, from 10 to 20, 10 to 30, and 10 to 45 pounds. So if you buy the 10 to 45 pound, you could start out in the spring at 45 pounds, and as the summer progresses and the water flows drop, you can start removing plates, and you can drop it clear down to 10 pounds. So wouldn't it be neat? Let's say nobody makes a drift boat anchor that weighs 14 pounds. Well, you can now remove the plates and get that perfect size anchor. Again, it's back to boat control. It's back to precision fishing. It's back to getting the boat to do exactly what you want it to do through the use of some precision products.
Well, we have got to go, but folks, if you haven't figured it out, Chuck Ceccarelli and his crew in Mountain Home, Idaho, with Fish Fighter products, they're making some really, really innovative stuff. We just told you about the anchors today, but there's a lot more to tell you about. There's a lot more to check out, too. And the place to do it is at his website. That's where you can see it. That's where you can buy it. That website is fishfighterproducts.com. That's fishfighterproducts.com. Check it out. You're going to see exactly what we've been talking about. And whether you own a power boat for river use or a drift boat for river use, you are going to want to try out these anchors. Chuck, thanks for sharing this with us today on America Outdoors Radio.
John, thanks for having me.
If you consider yourself a hardcore fisherman who takes pride in being the first person on the water and the last one off, Fish Fighter products were designed for you. We make products for the relentless fishermen who know that big fish are caught by those who put in the work. With our Relentless Series tackle trays, rocket launcher rod racks, and breakaway river anchors, you'll spend more time chasing the fish, not your gear. Designed and built right here in the USA, Fish Fighter products won't let you down. Gear up at fishfighterproducts.com.
Are you looking to reel in the marketing opportunity of a lifetime? Then set the hook, because we've got it right here for you. America Outdoors Radio has sponsorships available, and we offer affordable platforms to reach thousands of listeners interested in fishing, hunting, and the outdoors. Find out more by contacting John Cruz through his website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. That's AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com. Hurry, though. If you wait too long, the big opportunity might just get away. AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com.
It's time for another local shot of the outdoors. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio, and you'll only hear it here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
He's back. That's right, Tom Burlingame, the owner of XL Fishing Charters out of Neah Bay. But we're not talking Neah Bay today. We're talking about a special Seiku salmon season that's going off. Tom, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, John.
So, Tom, why don't you tell our listeners, when is this special Seiku season going to happen, which marine area, and what's the bag limit?
Well, it's the Seiku blackmouth Chinook fishery, and it's going to start March 16th, and it runs through April, and it is a 2-fish hatchery limit.
And that's a big deal, because the other places in the Sound where blackmouth salmon fishing is open, it's pretty much all a one hatchery fish limit this time of year, isn't it?
That is correct, John, and we're fortunate up here to still be able to retain the 2-fish limit. People have to travel a little further to get to us, so that's a nice added bonus when you come up here.
And, folks, I know you might be wondering about where you're going to stay. Well, guess what? Tom has got an affordable bed and breakfast for you to stay at while you're fishing with him. If you want to find out more, go to his website. It's xlfishingcharters.com. That's EXCEL fishingcharters.com, and book your trip now for the Seiku salmon season. Again, it's March 16th through April. The limit, 2 blackmouth a day. That's double what you're going to get in the rest of the sound, so don't miss out on this opportunity. Thanks again, Tom.
Thank you, John.
That's your second local shot of the outdoors here on the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. And you'll want to stick around for the end of the show because we've got another local shot for you. And this time, we're going to tell you about the perfect base camp, a really unique one for your clamming, crabbing, steelhead, and salmon fishing expeditions down in Tillamook, Oregon.
There's a whole bunch more of the great outdoors coming your way on Fox Sports 1380.
Marine Area 5 near Seiku is open for a special Chinook salmon fishery, and Excel Fishing Charters is ready to take you out for a great day on the water. One of the great things about this fishery is the fact that you get to take home not 1, but 2 blackmouth a day, and Captain Tom Burlingame has the knowledge and experience to help you get that done. Need a place to stay? Excel Fishing Charters can help you with that too, because they also operate the Inn at Nia Bay. Find out more about fishing with Excel Fishing Charters at excelfishingcharters.com. That's EXCEL fishingcharters.com. Book your trip now.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
All right, let's pour ourselves another cup of joe, take a little sip there, and bring you our next segment, which is sponsored by California Sportsman Magazine. It's the monthly publication that covers fishing, hunting, and the outdoor sports throughout the great state of California. Look for a copy at a newsstand near you. Speaking of California, we are heading down Santa Barbara way. That's where Jason Grupp operates Breakwater Tours. He'll take you fishing in the surf, he'll take you fishing in a kayak, and he'll take you fishing some other places too. Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Jason, let's talk a little bit about Breakwater Tours and exactly what you're offering down there. Santa Barbara, most people think of going to the beach, but not necessarily fishing off the beach. What are the opportunities that await there?
Yeah, you know, Santa Barbara is such a beautiful place and fairly protected beaches along that coast due to the Channel Islands and whatnot. So it's a great place to fish. And me and my clients have been roaming those beaches for close to 20 years, chasing a number of different species, halibut, bonita, surf perch, leopard sharks, you know, you name it. There's quite a range of species that roam those beaches down there, and we have a lot of fun, whether it's fishing right from the sand with fly rod or spinning gear, or getting on the kayaks and heading out and chasing some bigger species, white sea bass and calicos and whatnot that's roaming the kelp patties off the coast.
Well, let's go ahead and break it down, and we'll start on land, so to speak, or on the beach with the surf fishing. Tell our listeners about a typical day. They're going to hook up with you, I presume, at a public beach, and what happens after that?
Yeah, you know, the way we set up these trips as far as picking what time of day really is based off the tides. They have a huge role in when those fish are going to come in and feed. So first thing I do when I get a client that's asking me on a date, I immediately look at the tides and see, you know, what time of day is going to be best for us to start. And it's usually that incoming to high tide is best. So once we get that picked and get out there at the best time, then we figure out whether we're going to go for, you know, the smaller species, a lot of bites, or some of the, you know, bigger fish that are out there, and less bites, bigger fish. So then we dial in kind of what we're going to chase. Then, whether you're a fly fisherman or spinning gear, we bring the appropriate gear. And at that point, we're ready to go and start fishing. And, fly rod down there is a lot of fun, too. It does take a, somewhat experienced caster to be able to handle the surf, dealing with the currents on the water and, the longer casting distances. But if you're not a fly fisherman, then we grab the spinning gear and go after them that way.
So I'm guessing if we're talking about smaller fish, lots of bites, we're probably talking about surf perch. How are you hooking up? We'll start with the spinning rods. How are you hooking those up to get some of those surf perch to bite?
It's not a real tough fish to catch. We usually use like a 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce weight to get it out further. And, 10, 12-pound test, short leader. And there's a variety of different, baits you can use, from small grubs to, I like the Berkeley Gulp sandworm. They are all over that bait. Reds, orange, green, any of those colors work really well, and drag it along the bottom. And, some days we can go down there and catch 50, 60 perch in a morning, no problem. And they're fun. And if you find the bigger females, especially when they're coming into spawn, you can get into, decent-sized perch up to 2 pounds.
Oh, nice.
And they're a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And in the meantime, while you're fishing for perch, you end up hooking up a lot of different species, from small halibut, bonita, corbina. Everything's down there. You never really know what's going to tug. We landed a huge leopard shark the other day fishing for perch, which was a shocker to the client. They weren't prepared to have a shark on the end of the line, but we did it. So.
That sounds like a ton of fun. So I've got to ask you about the halibut, because, most anglers, when they think of fishing for halibut, they think of going really deep for these fish, but you're catching them in the surf. That's really counterintuitive to me.
Yeah, they're there. When the bait fish come in and the water starts to warm up, those halibut move in very, very shallow. We stepped on one the other day.
Jeez.
So don't think that they're not in close, because they absolutely are. And they come in and feed. And another fun part is, a lot of people think that they're bottom feeders and you only get them right on the bottom. It's not true. They'll come all the way up and hit a bait. I had one hit a bait so hard that he flew 3 feet out of the water the other day. We were drop shotting a small plastic fluke for him, and one hit it so hard he went flying out of the water. We missed him, but it was still cool to see. But really, that type of fishing starts this time of year, when that water starts to warm up a little bit, and then through the summer season, it can be really good. I remember our best trip last summer. On fly rod, we landed 7 halibut, with our biggest being 28 inches off the beach.
Wow. That is cool. So obviously, most of the halibut you're going to be catching off the beach going to be a lot smaller than what you're catching off a charter boat. I get that, but still, what an opportunity. When it comes to catch and keep, are most of your clients doing catch and keep, or are they doing catch and release?
For the most part, we release. You have to catch a pretty big halibut for it to be legal, which should be 24 inches this year. But, so most of the clients plan on letting it go, and then we'll go over to a nice seafood restaurant and, eat some crab or something like that.
Sounds like a great day to me. So let's get off the beach. Let's get into a kayak, and let's talk about that opportunity. Calico bass. I'm not familiar with this species. Tell our listeners about fishing for these.
Yeah, the Santa Barbara area holds a fantastic population of calico bass. And, when you find one, you can usually find a group of them, and they'll be all over these kelp patties. So we'll get out on the kayak and just drift, along the edges of these kelp patties. And I love doing it with a fly rod. And usually we'll use a sinking line, but you can get away with a floating fly line, nice Clouser minnow or something like that. Let it sink down along the edges of these kelp patties and slow strip, and you'll be surprised, what you catch. We landed a sheephead the other day while fishing for calicos, and we caught 7 or 8, 2 to 3 pound calico bass, and they're a blast, especially on the kayak. And not only do you land just calicos, but you end up running into all kinds of stuff, more halibut, white sea bass even, which, they're really the trophy fish in our waters out here, if you can find them. And it's not started yet, but I'm waiting for those white sea bass to move in here pretty soon.
So I've got to ask you about a fish I saw a couple times on your gallery on your website at breakwatertours.com. You've got some image galleries there, and it looked like some sort of almost like a skate, but the head was was a little bit narrower. It had that kind of triangular shape, but it wasn't quite as big. What was that your clients were catching?
You're talking about a shovel-nosed shark.
Yes, that must be it.
Also called guitar fish.
Okay, that's really unusual. And your clients were catching those both out of the kayak and off the beach?
Yeah, we catch a ton of those, and they're fun. We catch those on fly rod as well. And, they eat at just about everything, and our waters are loaded with them. And, people will eat those as well. I've never done it, but I guess the tail tastes pretty good. But, another cool thing I guide is on a couple of the beaches down there on low tide, which isn't usually the optimum time.
Right.
Those guitar fish will move up on these shallow flats, and we can actually sight fish for them. There's one particular beach that I take clients to when we're on a low tide trip, and we'll go walk the beach and look for those guys, and I can spot both the shovel-nosed sharks and the leopard sharks cruising the flats looking for bait fish up there. And, we can usually cast on those guys and sight fish them, which is really fun.
Oh.
You just got to know where to go.
That sounds great. And obviously, this must be done with a fly rod, I'm guessing. What kind of flies are you using?
Usually small bait fish patterns. When we're fishing the flats, I'll use a lighter type fly with just not a heavy head on it, because you just don't need to sink down too far. So short leaders, and I just cast them in front of them, lead them, and they're all over it. And we get them with spinning rod too. I use jerk baits. There's a particular lure by Lucky Craft called an LC-110, and that's just a killer lure. It only runs about 2 or 3 feet deep, and it looks like an anchovy or sardine, and they're all over it.
Well, Jason, we could talk a lot more about this, but I'm afraid we've got to go. But folks, if you want to book a trip with Jason and go fishing either on the beaches of Santa Barbara or off the beaches in a kayak, either fly fishing or spin casting, go to his website. It's breakwatertours.com. That's breakwatertours.com, offering some real fun fishing in the saltwater near Santa Barbara. Jason, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Thanks, John. Have a good morning.
Where can you find 4 rivers, 3 great fisheries, 2 majestic mountains, and 1 fantastic adventure all year round? Sensational The Dalles. Active community, authentic food, and great beer. ExploreTheDalles.com. Come and create your own adventure, and maybe even you can hook a river monster in the Dalles.
There's no more majestic, magical, adventuresome country than the western United States of America to enjoy a great family vacation. Hello, I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. Shiloh Inns are still offering affordable 4-star accommodations at 2-star prices. Enjoy deluxe smoke-free suites, spacious pools and spas, and fully equipped fitness centers. From free high-speed internet in every room to a free continental breakfast or full, hot, delicious breakfast at most Shiloh Inns. There are no hidden fees like some of the big chain hotels charge. Even the kids stay free, and Shiloh Inns are dog-friendly. For reservations, call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohinns.com. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence. American family-owned and proud of it.
2 huge events for hunters and anglers are coming to the Northwest. The first is the Washington Sportsman Show, January 24th to the 28th at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup. As big as this show is, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show at Portland's Expo Center is even bigger, with even more outfitters, retailers, boat dealers, and free seminars galore. You won't want to miss these shows, January 24th to the 28th in Puyallup and February 7th to the 11th in Portland.
If you consider yourself a hardcore fisherman who takes pride in being the first person on the water and the last one off, Fish Fighter products are designed and built for you right here in the USA. Fish Fighter products are used by the top fishing guides in the Northwest because they know having the right equipment is imperative to a successful fishing trip. With our Relentless Series tackle trays, rocket launcher rod racks, and breakaway river anchors, Fish Fighter products makes the gear you can count on. Find out more at fishfighterproducts.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands. We've helped ban the use of drones for hunting. We help repair wildlife corridors in key riparian areas. We speak up against illegal ATV use. We collaborate with elected leaders to keep public lands in public hands. We're Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, with membership in all 50 states and Canada. Please join this dynamic conservation group. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and it's time to talk about trail cameras. Why? Because it's just about hunting season, and we've got a real expert here to tell you all about how to successfully use these devices to help you bag a big game animal this fall. His name is Mark Kayser. He hails from Sheridan, Wyoming. Well-known outdoors writer, TV personality. Mark, great to have you back on the show.
Hey, I'm glad, and it's preseason, so it's a perfect time to be talking about trail cameras.
Well, and I know you are literally getting ready to head up into the hills and do some scouting for elk. Why is this the perfect time to set up trail cameras, and what species are people setting them up for in August?
You know, nowadays people are so trail camera crazy. They use them not only in August, but they use them year-round, and they use them for every species. I've used them from everything from coyotes to black bears on the predator end of things, and then, of course, to the ungulates, elk, mule deer, whitetails, and pronghorn, and I've even used them for turkey scouting. But in August, if you're a bow hunter or one of those early-season muzzleloader hunters, it is the perfect way to get a focus on where these animals are moving. Because in the early fall or late summer, as it is right now, these animals are on a real patternable schedule. It's not like later when the rut kind of mixes things up. They go to water, they go to food, they're in bachelor groups, and they just do things like the normal American does. They go to work every day, same highway, same lunch spot, go home at night, and that's what these critters are doing right now.
Well, you just answered my next question for me. I was going to ask, where do you set them up? And you kind of got into that a little bit, but I'll ask you for a little bit more detail. Obviously, you're going to set them up where they're actually working, but for somebody who's just really not sure, they're looking at a meadow, they're looking at a hillside, what are some suggestions on where to look for tracks so you know where to set up these trail cameras?
Well, we've been just throwing it out there, like I said, you said, food, water, sanctuary. That's where they're going to be focusing right now. And these animals are feeding heavily, whether it's elk, pronghorn, or deer, because they know the buffet is going to close soon, and they've got a lot of months of eating off of themselves ahead. They've got to have a lot of stored fat so they can get through not only the rut, but into the winter. So food is a good thing, and if you're in an agricultural area where you can focus on alfalfa fields, soybeans for whitetail hunters are big right now, your food plots. In the mountains, you're going to want to be looking more for big, lush meadows, but these elk will drop elevation and go to hay fields as well. And antelope, they can be a little tricky, but they love a good hay field right now, especially one that's caught a late summer rain and's got some regrowth after they hayed. So those are some specific spots on at least food. On water, elk right now, that is critical. Elk are big animals. They travel in herds, and the bulls will be joining these herds shortly. They're going to need a lot of water, and bulls will go to these same water sources and wallow. So I set up on water a lot for elk, and I do set up on some meadows for elk, but more of my trail camera stuff's on water. And for pronghorn, water right now, because the water hole setup is ideal. And a lot of antelope country is dry right now, even though we had a wet spring and winter. The spigot's been shut off. The Northwest, that over in that country's dry all the way into Montana and Wyoming where I live. It's not exactly just dripping with water. So the antelope, if you can find a good spot, consistent water source where they're hitting, watch it with a trail camera and you'll have good success there.
You're listening to America Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Mark Kayser, well-known outdoors writer and TV personality, about trail cameras. And Mark, another question for you. I think a lot of folks just go out there with one trail camera and try to set it up in a particular spot, but you recommend having more than one trail camera. Why is that, and how do you set those cameras up?
You definitely want to have more than one trail camera. Not only because you're going to capture more of the pattern of what's going on for the species you're targeting, but what about all the other species? If you're like me, you're wanting to hunt everything. So I've got trail cameras set up on deer, pronghorn, and elk right now, watching. While I'm sitting here talking to you, I got eyes out there scouting. And another great thing about the technology today is the fact that you can get those images sent right to your cellular phone, your smartphone, and you can check them out on the go if the area has cellular service. And as you and I know, that cellular service is just spreading like wildfire. So a lot of areas do have that service now. One of my buddies in Kansas, he sends me images all the time where we whitetail hunt there, and they're coming right off of his smartphone. They come straight to his smartphone. If he sees a big buck, he forwards it on to me. I don't even have to go to Kansas in the summertime. I know instantaneously, hey, there's a big buck on this area, and it's a place that I know, even though I haven't scouted it on site yet. And one last thing on setting up trail cameras is you do have to be a little savvy and sneaky. Not on all animals. It seems like pronghorn kind of ignore them. Mule deer, to another sense, they'll ignore trail cameras, but elk are snoopy. Every trail camera, every one I put up, elk bump and have their nose in it. They know exactly where it's at, and whitetails are the same way. So I try to set them up a little further off trail, a little higher pointing down, and maybe if the trail is one where they're coming in, I photograph them going away instead of having them walk right into the camera. So you need to be a little bit stealthy, a little bit sneaky when you're setting up your trail cameras.
This is some great advice, Mark. One last thing, any particular brands of trail cameras that you would recommend for hunters out there getting ready for this fall?
I got to be honest, I use a lot of Cabela's Outfitter series of trail cameras, but I work with Cabela's, so you can really just about pick any of the top brands and be satisfied. I've worked with Cuddyback, Moultries, and Bushnell's, all three of them. In fact, one of my best one yet is an old Bushnell trophy cam that I've got a bear box for that I can leave it up. And the bears, they beat it around. The elk are always trying to nudge it, but it's just a workhorse. I've had that camera for 4, 5, 6 years. So if you go to Cabela's.com, look at the reviews, people are pretty honest about what's going on with these trail cameras. And as I said, most of those top brands, they've got the kinks worked out.
Before we go, what's going on in the world of Mark Kayser in terms of where you're appearing in print or on TV in August and September?
Always go to markkayser.com and get on my Facebook or Twitter account because I do my appearances and stuff there. But right now, if you're bored out of your mind and want to watch me on TV, go to the Pursuit Network, Deer and Deer Hunting, Saturday Night Deer Camp. It's a great place to catch up on some good deer hunting information. Deeranddeerhunting.com also streams their shows immediately, so if you don't have the Pursuit Network, you can still watch them online. And I continuously put updates and hunting tips on my Facebook and Twitter account. So if you're just sitting there like, what is that crazy Mark Kayser doing? You can go and check it out and you can see that. Well, like today, as soon as I hang up the phone here, I'm headed up the mountain. I'm going to hang a tree stand for elk over a wallow where I've killed bulls before and set up a trail camera as well so I can monitor that area back and forth between a couple of the states that I'm hunting this year for elk.
All right. Again, if you want to find out more about that, I'm using your words here, that crazy Mark Kayser, go to his website. It's Mark Kayser. Kayser is spelled Kayser. That's markkayser.com. Catch up on what's going on and get an education, too, about becoming a better hunter. Mark, thanks for doing just that for our listeners today on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
I hope you've enjoyed this special Best of edition of America Outdoors Radio. And if you want to follow what's going on with our show in the weeks ahead, there's a few places you can do it. One of them is at our website. You'll find that at americaoutdoorsradio.com. Be sure to check out a preview of what's coming up and portions of the show that we have uploaded for your listening pleasure. You can also find news that we don't always have time to air on the show through our Facebook page at America Outdoors Radio. Be sure to like that page and follow it to keep up on the latest news from the outdoors. And if you want to hear our show on a regular basis, a couple of places you can do it on demand. One of them is through the Podbean app. You can download that and hear us on the go. Just subscribe to America Outdoors Radio. Another place is through YouTube. Subscribe to our channel at Northwestern Outdoors. That's one word there, Northwestern Outdoors on YouTube, to hear this show and our sister show, Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We upload segments on Podbean and YouTube on a regular basis. We'll be back next week with a brand new hour of fishing, hunting, conservation, and the shooting sports. Until then, I hope the good Lord blesses you and that you get a chance to get out there and do one or more of these activities. Remember, it's your country and your outdoors.
Let's get back to the local outdoors scene. It's the Pacific Northwest edition of America Outdoors Radio. Heard exclusively here on Fox Sports 1380 KRKO.
If you didn't catch our last interview with Nick Peterson, the owner of the Netarts Surf Inn, you missed out on some great advice about fishing the Trask River near Tillamook for steelhead, and that's going to keep up all the way through April. But we wanted to bring Nick back to tell you a little bit about his hotel, the Netarts Surf Inn. Nick, welcome back to America Outdoors Radio.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, John.
So, Nick, this is a really cool little hotel you've got there. Tell our listeners about it.
Well, we've completely renovated a 7-unit inn here in Netarts, Oregon at the coast, and we're just a block away from the beach and the bay here, which, is a great spot for crabbing, clamming, any outdoor activity you can think of at the coast. We're literally minutes away.
So you've actually got surfboards in the rooms at the Surf Inn, don't you?
Yeah, we've done some decorating with the kind of the play on the name of the Surf Inn, and we have some surfboards that have been kind of gone through their life cycle and ended up here.
I love it. And in terms of affordability, is this going to break the bank, or is this going to be in the budget for most of our anglers and others who want to do outdoor recreation near Tillamook?
Averaging around $100 a night, obviously less in the off months when fishing is at its best. We've kind of budgeted for that working class.
I like it, and I love going to independently owned hotels as well. What's the website so folks can find out more and book a stay so they can fish the Trask, or just hang out at the beach, or maybe do some crabbing down there near Tillamook?
The website is netartssurfin.com. You can also find us on most of the major platforms online.
That's Netarts, spelled Netarts, surfin.com. Check it out and book a stay for your fishing, crabbing, and beach expedition in Tillamook, Oregon. Thanks a lot, Nick.
Yeah, thank you, John.
That's all for this week. Be sure to tune in again next Saturday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. for another edition of America Outdoors Radio.
Natural wonders, beaches and coves, majestic forests and scenic vistas are waiting for you at the Tillamook coast. Lace up your hiking boots, grab your camera, and come to Northwest Oregon. Find out more at tillamookcoast.com.
NorthwestFishingReports.com is the Northwest's largest fishing reports website, featuring well over 50,000 fishing reports, videos, articles, and more. All 100% free. Catch more fish with Northwest Fishing Reports. Log on today